If you're a high income earner and you think your income is enough, I'm here to tell you it's not. And I know because I had to learn the hard way. I was a full-time emergency physician, working long hours, raising 2 kids, juggling night shifts, doing everything right. Of course, I had retirement accounts and a good income and what most people would call a successful life. But behind the scenes, I was exhausted and I was desperately needing a break. And that's when I came to the terrifying realization that I couldn't actually afford to stop working. And I know I'm not alone in this situation. So today I'm sharing the moment that changed my life and how I completely transformed my understanding of wealth creation. Let me take you back a few years. I was burned out after COVID, exhausted physically and emotionally. I had 2 kids in college, a house, and 3 cars, all riding on my income. Of course, as most employed professionals, I have retirement accounts, but they were growing at an unbelievably slow rate of 2% that year. And either way, they were untouchable. I had no passive income. Have you ever thought about that? We think that we have a good job, a good income, and we're fine. We could do that job forever. But what happens if you want to or need to cut back? That income goes away. Now, to make things worse that year, something else happened that totally caught me off guard and confirmed my decision that I had to make a change. It was 2 days before Thanksgiving. I got a call from my boss and he told me I was being taken off the schedule. He didn't call it a firing, but that's what it felt like. In fact, it felt worse than that. It felt like betrayal. I had dedicated everything to my career and I realized that it all could be taken away in an instant. And that hurt. But it also opened my eyes and solidified my resolve that I needed to make a change. I realized ever so clearly that not only did I not have passive income, I had no control over my income. I think it's something we doctors don't like to admit. We're educated, hardworking, earning well, but we're not thinking independently. We are stuck in hospital systems, insurance networks, and measured by metrics. We don't often think how we can break free and be independent of those systems, professionally and financially. I had always assumed my retirement plan would be enough. I assumed I could cut back and relax and enjoy life. But the numbers don't lie. The plan didn't work. And I wasn't financially free. I was financially fragile. So I made a choice. I was going to change the plan. And I started learning everything I could about investing, not just stocks, but real estate, tax strategies, and cash flowing assets. And that's when I found something that gave me hope. Passive income through real estate. You know, true wealth is not a good income or even a high income. Wealth is when you have enough passive income to support your expenses and work becomes optional. That's when you have freedom and freedom of time. Myron Golden talks about the wealth mindset and he provides a really good illustration. He says, poor people want money to pay bills, and the middle class want money to pay debt. And wealthy people want money to buy income-producing assets that increase in value or produce income without their personal effort and time. That's a mindset shift to stop thinking about accumulating and start thinking about generating. Don't buy items of consumption, but rather buy or create assets that generate income. So what are income producing assets? They can be a business, a course, a book, rental property. Of course, all these things do require your time and effort initially, but once you have them, they can continue generating money with minimal or no effort on your part. So once I made the conscious decision that I was going to become a generator of wealth instead of a consumer, I did several things. My first step was to part ways with my financial planner, mainly because he was not supporting my change of plans. His recommendation was to stay the course, keep working and keep investing in retirement accounts. But for me, that course was too long and it wasn't going where I wanted to go. So I took control of my retirement accounts. They were a confusing mess of ETFs that I didn't understand at first. It took me a few months to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I did eventually invest in some growth funds and changed my strategy to simplify it for myself. Next, I took some of my retirement accounts and moved them to a self-directed IRA. If you don't know what that is, a self-directed IRA is just like any IRA, but it allows you to invest in alternative assets like real estate, crypto, or others. Then I had to think about how I want to invest my savings. And I felt real estate was the best place to start. Of course, there are other investments such as private equity, venture capital, oil and gas. However, I came back to real estate as the best alternative to start with, and I'll explain more about that later. Now, within real estate, I had to decide whether I wanted to be an active or passive investor, whether I wanted to invest in single-family homes or commercial real estate like apartments, retail, or land. And I decided to invest in commercial real estate because it could be completely passive. Since I was still learning to be an investor and I was still working full-time, I started with the passive position. This would give me time to learn about the business and experience the journey. And of course, my first real estate syndication was overwhelming. Pitch decks, pro formas, and unknown terms. But as I began to learn and discuss the various concepts, it became simpler, and I realized it wasn't that difficult. So I took the leap, and it changed my life. It wasn't about the money. It was about reclaiming control. Beyond investing, I did some other things. I created my company, The Doctor Investor, my YouTube channel, and now the courses that we're building. The key distinction is now I'm creating assets instead of working a job. Now I realized something very important through this process. No one was going to do this for me. No advisor, no employer, and no retirement plan. I had to do this for myself. I don't know about other professionals, but I think a lot of doctors feel like they've already put in the hard work. They've already learned enough, delayed gratification enough, and they don't want to take on more learning or growing. They would much rather hire someone else to manage their money for them. I don't think this is wrong, but I think it's not enough. It's a lot like if you hired a personal trainer to get in shape. They can advise you, they can keep you accountable, but they can't do the eating and exercise for you. You do have to take responsibility for your own behavior. And I think wealth management is very similar. We can consult advisors, but we have to take responsibility for our own spending and investing. And if we want financial freedom, we need to think beyond a paycheck and explore how we can become creators of assets and not just earn money from a job. So start investing more aggressively and create or buy income-producing assets. Now, to get back to why I chose real estate has several advantages. Number one, it's a tangible real asset, meaning it's a physical property. Therefore, it has intrinsic value. It may decrease in value, but it's likely not going to go to zero. And number two, it's less volatile than stocks. It tends to change slower and can even do better in times of market downturns. And number three, it keeps pace with inflation. Real estate revenue is based on rental income, and rents usually rise with inflation. So the real estate values adjust upward with inflation. And number four, it can offer tax benefits through depreciation. And if you're investing a lot of time and effort, you could claim real estate professional status, and it could even reduce your taxes on your active income. And number five, which was the most important thing for me, was that you could invest in real estate passively without expending your time and energy. I think this is great for working professionals. And since I'm still working as an ER physician, I need something that can be passive. Although there are many ways to invest, for me, real estate felt like an easier and safer asset to start with. What I want you to take away from this video is that you are more than your job and more than your profession. I know you've achieved a lot and you're earning a good income, and you're probably wondering, why would you need to do anything else? My answer is two words: freedom and control. You should have the freedom to walk away from your job, and you should have control over your income. If you're working full-time, burned out, and wondering if you will ever retire, you're not alone. And you're not too late. Remember, financial freedom is not about greed, it's about choice. The choice to step back, the choice to pivot, and the choice to live with peace and not pressure. And you can make that choice. If this story resonated with you and you want to learn more about passive investing, download my free guide on real estate syndications below. It's a great way to get started while you're still working. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.